Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the American Scouser TV Fantasy Premier League Show. So we are going to jump in, talk a bunch about match week 33, preview 34, the double game week, discuss our private pools, our current standings, maybe look at our cups. But before we do that, we want to bring attention and remind everyone, we've been talking about it a lot. If you've been following us on social media or checking out our Facebook pages and our groups, you'll know that we are at the tail end of a fundraiser to help the children of Syria and Turkey with from the devastating earthquakes and the fallout that is coming. And we all know it's going to be a long time before they're made whole. Many of them never will be made whole, and just dealing with this. So we're raising money in two ways. We have a silent auction, which I'm going to post a very long link. Hopefully it will post so you can click on it in the chat. And we also have a straight donation. If you are just looking to make a small monetary donation, honestly, $1, $5, anything you can give. If you're in a position where you can't afford $1 or $5, I completely understand. But if you're seeing this post or hearing this, if you could share it to friends or coworkers, I think in one of the recent interviews and videos, there was a great line, and it makes total sense. Until you hear it, you don't even think it. If we're looking for every one person to give us $100 or $10 or whatever it is, and you can't contribute that, if you share that to 100 people and 9 of them contribute $10, we've basically made up all the money we were hoping to get. So please, the shares are just as good as a contribution, unless, of course, you have a little money, and then we would greatly appreciate it because we are a little below our goal, but we're going to try to get as much of that in as we can. So I'll first make the links to the silent auction, and then a little while later in the program we'll post the links to the straight donation page, which is through Facebook. So before we jump into the fantasy stuff, as always, we're going to start up this week like we usually do with a quick invite to our Discord channel. So if you're not there, find us. We've posted the links all over the place. We'll drop it in here at some point throughout the show. It's a great conversation, great banter, whether it's league matches, transfers, MLS stuff, music, or, what meat someone is smoking on a Sunday. You will find everything and all things inside this Discord channel. So come join the craziness and get involved.
Before we go into this here, I would just like to throw this out here. I don't want to be the asshole, but I will be the asshole when I need to be, right? You look at this shirt here. People spent $20 to $25 to $30 on this shirt. Looks like maybe a fucking 7-year-old designed it. I don't know. Maybe. And I'm not trying to take shots at people wanting to buy this shirt to commemorate the day. I get it. But look at this. When you look at a shirt like this, that actually looks like it was designed with some sort of forethought, with some sort of creativity, with the minutes of each player where they scored turning into a 7, and with the same price, if not less, there's 10 of these that we're doing, and each one on the back will say 1 a 10, 2 a 10, 3 a 10, etc. You can get the same one for the same price as this. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. That's all.
It's a self gratification and plug. Appreciate it there.
Insane.
It is insane. What else is insane? Well, the standings of the American Scouser Cup. We sat here for, I'd say, the better part of 30 to 31 weeks, basically talking about William Peppard and the team he had put together, and it's just an amazing season he's had. Like anything else, you make a few tough moves, you make a couple wrong transfers, few too many free hits, negative hit transfers, and you drop. And Guns and Nunez just came on flying. Was like a stalking horse in like a derby. It was the horse that literally runs the entire race between like 10 and 12, and then just knows it's faster than every horse in the thing and is going to blow doors and wins by like 2 horse lengths. That's basically what Guns and Nunez is doing here. Opened up a 38-point lead in first place and has moved up to just outside the top 1,000. So, the moves they've made, and I took a quick look at their roster. They are absolutely stacked and set up for the double game week in 34. So I expect another green arrow for Guns and Nunez. And I think we might genuinely end up with someone in our league inside the top 1,000, which is really, really cool. And a lot of kudos and credit. So hopefully someone either is listening or hears at some point can let Mohamed Zidane know, because I'm sure we always said we were going to try to do something, send a T-shirt or a swag back or something for the winner. So hopefully we'll send you a message through Facebook and you're paying attention and we can find you and track you down and you can get credit for this amazing, amazing season. Speaking of amazing seasons, oh wait, no, it hasn't really been that amazing lately, has it? Another one on the chin here, Matoush.
What can I say? I'm underperforming in the best time of the year. Just call me Arsenal. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say captaining players like, was it Chilwell, Madison, and Watkins 3 weeks in a row? That might actually go down as worse.
Yeah, I can
than Arsenal.
I can understand that, but the what if is there. If it paid off, it would have been great. I would be sitting here pretty. But obviously it wasn't the best move. I didn't really think, I knew City would beat Arsenal, but I didn't really think how easily they would handle that match. I thought Haaland might have a return or two. So I put all my money on Watkins having a return against Fulham, which in the recent form that Villa was in, made sense. It just didn't work.
It honestly wasn't as terrible as I make it out to be, but the results were worse. So therefore, I feel like it's just low hanging fruit, and it's just easy for me. Yeah. Exactly. Kelly put up a little bit of a nail biter there against Paul. Paul had a couple really high scoring players like Gakpo, and it kind of offset Kelly there a little bit. Luckily, she did have the armband on Haaland, so she didn't lose any of the points in that situation. But she is set up. It's going to be interesting because with this week's adjustment of the standings, we now sit with a much narrower gap at the top. Now, this is, just for seedings for the playoff, which is why I kind of truncated this down, because I feel like right now there are 9 people vying for the 8 potential places in the playoffs. My favorite part is that Timuchin will probably make the playoffs. It'll probably be just my luck that he draws me somehow or draws like Kelly, and he'll end up knocking her out by using his wild card and getting rid of all the players who no longer play in the Premier League that are still starting in his side. But the playoffs will be fun. It'll be an interesting one here. Do you think you will hold on to the number 1 seed with just 2 weeks or 3 weeks remaining? Because I'm pretty sure it's the 36, 37, 38 are the playoffs. So we only have 2 weeks left of this.
Right. So, I mean, when this updates, Kelly and I will be tied because this did not take into account this past week yet. There's only 32 game weeks on here. So we'll be tied. So next week, I'm playing Kelly. So this weekend is going to decide who is going to be first place. I feel pretty good going into this week because I have a bench boost and a triple captain. I know we'll get into that. So I'm going to use one of those this week. I don't know if Kelly has anything left. So I think we'll set up similarly. It's just a matter of if I can get those extra points off the bench or not. That'll boost me up. I think either way, if I finish first or second, I think I'm still winning the whole thing. I'm just giving other people a little bit of a chance right now. Yeah.
It's a ballsy way to talk when you position your team to score on average about 35 to 40 points for the last month and a half. But I do like your confidence. She does have her she has her bench boost remaining.
Okay.
And I don't pat myself on the back like she listens to me about a lot of things, but I think she does actually listen to me about strategy when it comes to fantasy football. And she wildcarded last week. If anybody's ever listened to me on this podcast, basically know that wildcards are there to set up other chips. So my assumption was that wildcard had something to do with a look at this week's bench boost. And I do know that she was very happy with her side because she had a ton of, she had Stones, Shaw, and somebody else sitting on the bench, and all of them scored or had points. So she could have really had a much better week this week. Yeah. But she's saving all of those points for next week when she plays you.
Great. That's all I want to hear.
So, team of the week, no big shockers, right? Haaland and De Bruyne front and center. Rashford right where he belongs. Kane, this is kind of like a really easy one. The back lines, I think this is what happens when defenders score, right? Random defenders score, they find their way on this on the team of the week. See Zanka, see Matip and Mings. Steele with just an outstanding performance. And then maybe the biggest, not surprise, because I think anytime that Kellen Wilson is healthy, you know that there's an opportunity for him to not only score, but also to haul. But with the form that Isak is in, shocked at all that he doesn't start today against Everton with the money they paid, the form he's in, and the way he's playing?
I'm not shocked because I feel like all year, I know there was a couple weeks where it was a little rocky, but for the most part, Eddie Howe has been setting up his team really well and kind of knows how to get the most out of his players. So I think whenever there's the right rotation, it works, and we see why it works because he kind of he gives the players the minutes that he thinks they deserve, and they respond. And I think that's kind of as easy as that explanation is that he just gives the trust into some players and they deliver. And then when Isak knows that he gets his 65, 70 minutes, he'll deliver too. So I think it's just they have a good problem with decent depth up front. And I think if anything now, going into Europe next year, most likely, right, being able to play around with this rotation and seeing how players play, it leaves them in a much stronger position for next year to understand that they have the ability to rotate without not necessarily losing too much. I know they put a lot of money into Isak this year, but he's a 4 or 5 year, 6 year project, right? He's not just here for So I think having that depth and having that ability to move those guys around, I think is in part due to next year and knowing that there will have to be more rotation and kind of seeing how these things go.
Have you seen the absolute travesty that the fantasy Premier League rule people did by taking the assist that Isak had today away from him, which I understand why they do it because it like bounced off of a defender. But but have you seen the highlight of the run from the halfway line?
I have not yet. No.
So you are going to be in for a treat. When you see this, you will honestly believe that like you are watching like a young like Messi or Ronaldo in the way he's dribbling. He takes the ball from basically midfield inside center half, dribbles by every single Everton defender down the line, takes it to the touchline, cuts back in, beats 3 guys dribbling inside and out of him, and then flicks the ball across the front of the goal. They score the goal. Jacob Murphy scores the goal. And everyone on the team is literally like just in awe of Isak. And he's laughing out loud as he does it. Because I don't think people realize, and I don't even know if the Newcastle supporters had realized how talented this kid is. Like how good of a player this kid is and like how much upside he has. And he is built for England. He's strong. He's got pace. He can shoot with both feet. His performance deserved a goal, let alone an assist, and he was on the pitch for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's just so outstanding. And I said it earlier today. it's hard not to like this team because of the makeup and Eddie Howe and the story and the supporters and their love and just, the guys with no shirts and hairy chests in the middle of freaking Newcastle and, freezing and just the nuttiness of it all, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to hold your nose because then you got to think about the wealth fund that owns them and all the human rights charges against them. And it is hard because it's it takes away from it, but it shouldn't take away from what you're seeing and the story, because this story, this is as good. This isn't Leicester winning the title, but man, it's pretty goddamn close.
Yeah, with the amazing job that they've done in the position that they were just in last year before Christmas, to be where they are right now is incredible. It really is. So all the kudos.
So before I bring up the transfer in, if I asked you who you think is the most transferred in player so far this week, who would it be?
Oh, God. Let me just go with Holland for some reason. Because
it's not Holland because enough people that were smart enough to bring him back.
Yeah.
I think this one had to do with the fact that many people transferred him out because they thought the injury would be longer, because originally there was a no timetable, but then he just popped up and miraculously was able to play in the FA Cup semifinal against Brighton. It's actually Rashford at almost 250,000 people, which is a lot for as early in this as I took this screenshot, because this is for this game week.
Yeah.
Between last. So literally just started. Stones makes sense. Double game week coming, playing really well, scored a goal. And, he's always a threat on a set piece. And if he's going to be in the midfield, he's even more of a threat because he doesn't mind going forward and he does have the ability. Jota, Grealish, and De Bruyne, I think that has as much to do with form and double game weeks, right? It's number of matches and amount of days.
Yep.
Anyone on here that you will be targeting? Obviously, I think you already have Rashford, right?
Yep, I have Rashford. It's tough because I would like to. I'm debating between Nunez and Jota. I've had Nunez in the last 2 weeks. Just because I've been afraid to get off of him because I kept feeling that would be the time when he comes on and bangs in 2 goals. Of course, It didn't happen, and Jota got all the goals instead of Nunez. But that's one thing that I'm trying to consider. But then I don't know what Jota's minutes are going to look like for this next week. If Nunez is a better bet to have at least one full 90 in him. So other than that, I don't think I'm looking at anyone else on the list just because De Bruyne, it would take quite a bit for me to get there. Grealish, I'm okay without him. And then Stones, if there's anyone else, it might be Stones to get in another double defender. But I think right now I'm not looking at anyone but Jota.
Perfect. Well, let's take a look at the players on their way out of sides. Saka, Kane, Watkins, Martinelli, Odegaard. I think there's a little recency bias on the Arsenal exodus, though I understand it. They have a couple tricky fixtures. They have no more doubles. And we've all ridden their players all year long.
Yeah.
And at some point, if other people, especially those that are up in the upper echelons of the scoring system, you kind of got to keep up with the template if you don't want to be left behind by it. And, the template is starting to say Saka to Grealish and pocket in $1.5 million makes a lot of sense. You can't overlook the fact that Brighton have 3 of the best 15 midfielders in fantasy EPL, and they play 9 matches in 6 match weeks. I mean, it's having 3 doubles to close is absolutely crazy. I know City's got the double. So I think right now that's why you're watching people and you see it. It's the reason Brighton doesn't have a name on this list.
Everyone has them.
Is no one has gotten rid of any of their Brighton assets this entire time.
Yeah.
So now we're starting to see the selling off of the Tottenhams and even Watkins. I know I'll talk about it a little later when we get to mine because I've already made my moves for this week. And I've made my move for this week, and I have a little story. is going to give a little life lesson here and a little tale of why you don't make stupid moves, a little drunk and a little emotional at the end of a night thinking you're going to miss a price rise. Don't be me. But let's go into your team and let's talk about why we shouldn't be you.
I mean, there are no reasons that you would ever want to be me to begin with, whether it's fantasy or just life in general. So yeah, that's bad advice to have it always. Looking at the team specifically, yes, I captained Ollie over Holland and thought, and I think I should preface that by saying, I think last week when I was talking with Trevor, I was mentioning that I'm at a point in the season where I don't have too much to play for in the overall ranks. So if I'm going to try and make a differential move, I'm going to do it through a captaincy choice that not a lot of people are on. And so for me, Watkins made sense with the fixture, with the idea that a lot of people will be on Holland already or Salah, and that, I'd kind of just do what I can and see what would happen there. Obviously, if I started Raya instead of Kepa and then had Henry instead of Estupinian, that's an extra 12 points. I'm on 58, right? Captain Holland on another 10, so 68 roughly, whatever. So, the pieces were there. The decisions within the pieces didn't work. But I think I'm set up really well moving into the double game week. I pretty much will. I didn't make a move from last week to this past week, so I have an extra transfer to use. So I might just go balls to the wall, make 3 transfers, hit that -4, but then hit the bench boost and get some of that back. It's just a matter of if I strongly believe to get off of Arsenal before this Chelsea match or not. Because I really do want to keep Saka and Martinelli on the bench, I think. Even though they don't have that double, for some reason, I feel really good about them playing at home against Chelsea. And I feel really good about Saka and Martinelli returns. I think they're going to have a response to the City match. It's going to be too late because I think City is going to run away with the title now. But I think they'll have a good response. And I think against a team like Chelsea right now, it's a pretty good team to have that response against. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I can see all that, and I understand it. I mean, listen, I like poking fun at you. It is what it is. There were some oddities. Arsenal's or Everton's goal today was garbage. Drops you 4 points. You drop off Trippier's clean sheet. I made the same exact mistake as you did, and I kicked myself all weekend afterwards, saying to myself, like, Chelsea hasn't scored. They've got literally a deflected goal all month long. Conor Gallagher's one deflected goal is the only goal they scored in the month of April in the Premier League.
Crazy.
And I didn't start Raya, even knowing, I should have just knew that Kepa wasn't going to keep a clean sheet. Yeah. So just start Raya because he gets save points in every single match and usually bonus points because of his distribution. And instead, I was like, no, I'll just go with the safe bet. I'll play the home team that's going to get Kepa has a better chance of a clean sheet. And then I leave 9 points on the bench just like you did. So that was really frustrating too. It'll be interesting here. You said you have 2 free transfers this week. So You may go 3 transfers, take the -4, and then play your bench boost possibly to try to make up the 4 points, or would you consider doing 2 transfers and not using your chip so that when we get into those playoffs, you have the bench boost and the triple captain?
Playoffs?
But you're in that. You're going there. It doesn't matter where you finish. You got to win 3 games head to head 3 weeks in a row.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Having those chips would be pretty helpful.
It would be, but it also this week looks really good for the bench boost. But I could also just triple captain Holland this week and just hope for the best. So I'm between those 2 chips because obviously though I have those 2 chips. So it really comes down to how confident am I in Holland in these next 2 matches? Is it worth the triple captain over that bench boost? Do I think I will get more points through a Holland triple captain than a bench of 2 Arsenal players and maybe a defender on a double? I don't know. Maybe it makes more sense to go triple captain Holland. Maybe he will score more than Saka, Martinelli, and some defender. But again, like I said, for some reason I feel good about Arsenal this week against Chelsea. So I don't know. It's going to be a decision that I make at the literal deadline.
So that actually, before we look at my team and talk about the strategies I have going, I think that's a good little segue here. So as we talk about, I think there'll be a lot of chips. I think this week, right now, we'll have the most chips used overall because I think there will be bench boosts. I think there will be teams that wild card. There will be teams that bench boost. There will be teams that free hit. There will be teams that use their triple captain. Because you can make an argument that it is one of, if not the best week of all of those. When you talk about the captaincy for this week, do you think it's a locked in no brainer that it's Haaland? Because I have to be honest, I don't.
Who do you go with? Rashford?
I think if you have Rashford or Mo, they both have two better fixtures overall than Haaland. And I am worried at some point. Though? I think they do. I think Liverpool definitely has better fixtures.
I think City has the best fixtures. It's very close. I think City has the best fixtures.
You think he's starting both matches, knowing that they're both 3 days apart. And I know they're back now. They need to win every game for the title. And he started the useless, meaningless Sheffield match. But they got two crucial midweek matches coming up against Real Madrid in the tournament that they really need to win. And at some point, that team can win even with him coming off the bench. That's my big fear. The other thing is that Mo his underlying numbers have gotten better and better. He's had attacking returns in 4 or 5 matches in a row. And there is going to be a game where he explodes for 20, 22 points, something in one match.
Yeah.
And I'll be so mad if it's in my team in a double match week and I don't have the armband on him.
Yeah, I get that. In my situation, this is people debating if they have Mo and Haaland if they can get there. I don't think I can get to Mo in my situation without going off of Haaland. So for me, there is no my consideration is between Haaland and Rashford. And I think between United, home against Villa, and away at Brighton, I much prefer Haaland away at Fulham and home at West Ham, even if it's 60 total minutes.
All right, that's fair. I agree. I was just wondering where your thoughts were there. So you think it's Haaland 1?
Absolutely.
Would you say Haaland 1, Mo 2, like Rashford 3 based on form fixtures? If you were looking for a differential, because God knows you like a differential captain.
The Brighton mid, if you really want a differential cap there, because they got Wolves at home and United at home. You could argue McAllister or Mitoma would be a decent shout there as well. It's really interesting because City has those 2 matches against Real. But this is kind of going back to what Timuch and I were talking about on the morning show this past week and the week before, is that momentum is very important, especially in this time of the year. And I think that if you are fit and you are a regular starter, you will be playing as many minutes as you can until the end of the season at this point. I think rotation was earlier in the year if needed. I think right now, especially with where teams are at, I think Haaland will get at least 70 minutes in both those matches and get at least 70 against Real in both of those matches too. I think because you want, and this goes back to our conversation before of the reason why we felt like Arsenal let off some steam. They were out of all other competitions. All they had left was the Premier League. They kind of took their foot off the gas pedal, and that's what kind of did them in, is that they didn't have that repetition of those games every 3 to 4 days that kept them mentally ready. And I think City has that, like they do every year. So that's why I think I will consider Haaland over any choice.
Yeah, I think that's I think you're like spot on with it. I don't think you're off. I just think that I think this is a week where you can make an argument for a few different guys, which you don't normally be able to. I mean, I think you could make an argument for Bruno too, just because he's looked so he's been in so many attacking areas and had so many opportunities. He's just not scoring. So it's like, I mean, wait till you see when you watch the extended highlights of all the Premier League matches today, you will be blown away that Bruno doesn't finish off the chance to put United up 3-1 before Spurs level. It might have even been after it was 2-2 and he could have made it 3-2. It's beautiful skill, sleek play, dancing around in the box, taking a guy to the ground, and he sits the keeper down and just smashes it off the crossbar. It's from like 7 yards out. It's How does that happen?
A no Ronaldo United team makes Bruno fantastic.
He really does. It really does change everything for him. But they did look really leaky at the back. De Gea still got mistakes in him. When Luke Shaw is the best defender on the pitch for your team, you're probably in trouble. And I think Luke Shaw has turned his United career around and deserves a lot of credit for not giving up and throwing in the towel and leaving when Mourinho tried to force him out the door. Right? He stuck in and was like, "No, I know what'll happen if I work hard enough. I'll be here long after this asshole's here." And then the funny part was he's like, "I'll be here long after the next 3 managers are here." And Ten Hag will have to remember that too. So we'll take a look at my train wreck, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Let everyone get out of here. You can go watch your highlights. People can watch the NFL draft or whatever it is they're going to do on this Thursday night. Like you, I made the mistake of starting Kepa over Raya. I'll eat that one. I did not make the mistake of not having the armband on a player that had expected ownership of over 180%. That did not make any sense, so I did not do it. Other than that, nothing goddamn worked. Second week in a row, I've been just absolutely bamboozled by a dirty-ass goal. Last week, it was Villa scoring in the 88th minute against Brentford to knock out my double clean sheet and 5 bonus points with me and Raya. This week, it was the double clean sheet killed by the McNeil miss hit. Isak starts from the bench, Salah blank. So just not a great week from a lot of levels. McAllister and Matoma blank. But honestly, none of that was the worst shit of the week when it came to my fantasy team. Because I got to the end of last match week, I was looking at my team. I had one free transfer. No, I had I had one free transfer. I was looking at my team. And I said to myself, I'm sorry, I got this wrong. I had 2 free transfers. I was looking at my team, and I said to myself, I got to get Haaland back. I had Kane. I could have done it, but I wanted to do it with getting rid of me. Which, thinking it back out now, made no goddamn sense because I've been talking about dropping Gabriel forever. I could have just dropped Gabriel. If I dropped Gabriel, I would have had more money to spend, so I would have got a bet, So basically what I ended up doing was I moved me to Konate and Kane to Haaland. But in doing that move, I did it at exact money. So a price change on either player, Konate or Haaland, both of which were getting a lot of buys. So I not only bring in a guy like Konate, who really you don't want on your fantasy team because he heads the ball in the opposite direction of the goal. And Liverpool doesn't keep clean sheets. So I make that move when all I had to do was drop Gabriel, who I was planning to sit on the goddamn bench anyways. So it just the whole thing was just an absolute kick in the you-know-what. And it was like I was overthinking it to get in another double game week guy for 34 because my plan all along, the reason that I made the moves was not to free hit last week because my plan was to free hit in 34. Then I started looking at my team and was like, well, I'm only going to pick up 2 or 3 players out of this free hit. I don't really want a free hit. I can save that free hit, maybe use it in 36 or 37. But then Rashford's fit. I'm already benching Martinelli, so I decided to rip Saka to Rashford and take the -4, and you know how I feel about taking hits. And the worst case was, dude, here's the crazy part. If I just effing wait, I do Kane and Saka to Rashford and Haaland. I keep the 4 points. And I drop Gabriel this week. And I still would have had the money.
Yeah.
But I because I was so determined, and I tell people all the time, never make your transfers you never do it. You're better off to getting priced out of a guy than to do transfers early, especially when you knew there was a midweek match. So I'm just so disappointed, but at least my -4 really wasn't a hurt because Rashford, hauled, Saka wouldn't have. I probably would have started Saka over Martinelli, so I would have got a 2 instead of a 1, and that's purely because, so it's a +6 on that move for me. So I'll accept it. It just really, really bothered me that I made that kind of like rookie mistake and that I did it in preparation of a match that I didn't even need, because this is the crazy part. After the moves I'm making this week, right, I'm not even going to play Konate. Like, he's going to be on my bench probably on a double game week. And it's just like...
It's tough.
Like, what a wasted 4 points. What a bad decision. And this stuff happens, right? But I did make the moves this week already, mainly because I got a lot going on tomorrow, and I knew this is where I wanted to go. I knew that I wanted to really go at this double game week for points. I wanted to rebuild my side. I think that with the change in formation, I think Trent is back to being a requirement. So I moved off Gabriel. I went up to Trent. Did require me to move off of Watkins.
Okay.
And I went down to Solanke, which his underlying stats are really, really great. People are... I know in Discord today people were still talking about Bournemouth not being safe before they won. I thought they were safe before the day started at 33 points. They're absolutely safe now. And I'll just do it now. I didn't do it on the podcast. I'm planning to do it again on Monday. I should apologize to all 5 of you supporters I called out here in America during the preseason shows. I know it was rude of me. It wasn't right. I said you were going down. And I need to apologize to all 5 of you Bournemouth supporters. So... still no apology for Scott Parker, because if they had kept Scott Parker around, they would have set the record for 0 points. But I like the Solanke move there. I am taking a -4, but I'm taking a -4, and if I want to, almost every one of my starters is playing a double match week, except for my keeper and probably Trippier. But like, that's the hard part. Like, I have this sneaky feeling that there's a chance that Trippier could outscore Konate playing 2 matches.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Newcastle at home against Southampton, defensively, I would take over Liverpool defensively at home against Spurs and at home against Fulham. I think they concede in both games. And if Konate doesn't score a goal, that's 4 points, roughly, over Trippier's most likely 6 or 7.
Right. And that's... And the thing with Isak, I could have made the move off Isak. I probably would have had to gone to like, if I'd done the Isak move, I might have had to move off of Estupiñán instead, because I think I would have went down from Isak to one of the 4.6 Brighton strikers, either Ferguson or Cisco. But I didn't really want to do that, and Isak has that double game week coming up in 36, so it's like they still have good fixtures, and they have something to play for. I'm trying to keep, if you can see, like the interlocking theme on my side here is teams that have doubles and teams that have something to play for. Outside of maybe Raya and Kepa, everyone here is on my roster is fighting for a title or their position in Europe. And I think that's really important when you get down to the business end of the season. So I'm feeling good going into this week. I really want to get back to a green arrow. It was 2 weeks ago. I was 4 points out being inside the top 200,000. And now I'm, just over 300,000 or 400,000. So just under, it's a little brutal. So got to figure that out. Got to get a green arrow here in this double game week. I think it's going to be a big one. So before we get people out, as we always do, please give the channel a subscribe, give the post a like, share the video, invite some folks to check it out. We're here every Thursday at 9. We will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central for the morning coffee show with Timuchin. And I'm not sure who he's got in on Fridays any longer, but he will have a guest as always. They'll go through all the morning news, and so get your cup of coffee and or tea and show up. Any parting thoughts here as we wrap this up and get ready for another quick turnaround?
Sully March, Diogo Jota, and Jack Grealish have all gone up in price. And then Martinelli, Luka Dean, and Rico Henry have gone down. So if you were thinking about moves of any of those players, hopefully you still have the money for it, because I might have just been priced out of one. So we'll find out.
Well, you shouldn't you, though? Because, if you have Nunez, isn't he 8-9 and isn't Jota 8-9?
It depends on the defender that I'm going to go up to. If there's still that 0.1 that, because I can go down for Nunez just fine. It's a matter of using the second transfer to move a defender up. So I'll have to double check to see where I'm at.
Well, I would wish you luck, but that will get me in trouble.
That's fine. I understand.
So what I will say is I hope that it works out for you.
Thank
you.
And
more importantly, you finish just 1 point shy for the week. Because then you'll still, feel good about it.
It'll be respectable, yeah.
Exactly. It'll be respectable. I honestly think you're going to get absolutely drubbed. I don't know why. I genuinely do. But we'll see.
That's good, because usually your feelings are wrong, so I'm happy.
Yeah, she feels really good about the side, and, the last time she walked around and bragged like this, she basically destroyed all of us for an entire season. So it'll be interesting to see how...
That's a great feeling to have. I'm so excited.
It should be. You should be excited. Yeah, we're going to go into this weekend, and I'm going to just think to myself, like, hey, for once, it'll be her beating down the hopes and dreams of someone else, not just me. All right, so with that, we'll wrap up the show tonight. We will be back next week, Thursday, 9 o'clock.
Green arrows.
Green arrows on both sides, and Red Arrow Matouche might still be Red Arrow Matouche. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Get on those donations. Please share the fundraisers. Check out the silent auction. I really think there's some great items. There's people getting steals on some items inside of that place. It's going to close in a few days. Get your bids in. Get some nice swag.
The shirt is shit.
Buy the nice shirts. That's all we need to say.
And this, oh no, I thought I had this set up a lot easier. I messed this up. And this shirt is not. And it's cheaper. That's it. I'm out.
All right. That is our shameless plug for the night. And there's nothing shameless about doing something good for people, especially people who need it. So thank you once again to everyone who has donated, been involved, shared the posts. And if you can get involved in the next 3 to 4 days, we would greatly appreciate it. And we appreciate all of you do and follow us here at American Scouser TV. Have a great night. Enjoy the matches this weekend, and go Liverpool.